Brenda, Brenda, pretty girl, Brenda, pretty baby. You my pretty girl. Okay, you pretty girl. The Christmas decorations are gone. So, uh, happy just into the new year. I think this is supposed to be the first video that will go up in the new year. And I'm going to be talking about Princess Viola from Dressrosa. She is currently the crown princess of Dressrosa, and she is the heir to the throne. She is, of course, the daughter of King Riku III and the younger sister of Scarlet, the aunt of Rebecca, and the sister-in-law of Kyros, and a former member of the Don Quixote pirates. Under the code name Violet, and everything, where she worked as an assassin and an officer in the Trouble Army. But a lot of that will be gone over in this. For reference, after I've done with Viola, then I'm going to do the Doflamingo one, where I talk about Doflamingo himself as, his life, and then, of course, when he was ruling Dressrosa and everything like that, and what I think may end up happening someday with him. And then I will go back to the Riku family, and I will finish that up with Rebecca as this kind of hope for the future of the Riku family, is kind of the way that I've structured this. In regards to Viola, she is 29 years old, so that means that she's 19 years old when everything happens, when Dressrosa is attacked and messed with and everything like that, the night of horror or whatever that happens, with Doflamingo showing up and everything like that and making King Riku go crazy. She is 19 when that happens, and she spends 10 years within the service of the Don Quixote pirates, under the control of Doflamingo, in an attempt to try to, she makes the deal with him so that way her father and her niece will be spared. Because I believe at that point in time, by the time she makes this deal, I do believe that Scarlet is dead. And Viola does not want to see her niece die, and she does not want to see Rebecca die, and she does not want to see her father die. So she makes that deal with Doflamingo that she will serve at the behest of the family and be loyal, and will use her glare fruit powers and everything like that in order to, protect the family and everything like that. And I will be getting into all of that. As I just mentioned, she does have a devil fruit power. She is the only member of the Dressrosa royal family that is part of the Riku family that has a devil fruit. Everybody else, nobody else in the family, as far as we are aware, because we see enough of the fights throughout Dressrosa that just if any other ones of the family had devil fruits, we would have seen it by now. We would have seen it during all of the fights in Dressrosa, unless it's a useless devil fruit for fighting. But even then, Oda would have found a way to explain it. She is the only one that has a devil fruit. She has the Giro no Mi, or the glare fruit. It is a paramecia type devil fruit that allows her to basically see through objects and see objects over a vast distance. I think they state that it's she can basically use her powers to keep her eye on everything that's going on the island of Dressrosa, and even a little ways out into the ocean, depending on stuff. So she has a very good range with her power. Whether or not she has that range with her power when she first has the devil fruit when she was a child is a little bit left up for debate. But if anything, she probably would have trained it quite a bit over the last 10 years in the service of the Don Quixote family, in order to be able to not be seen as a liability and to keep her end of the bargain. But also, we know that she uses that to keep an eye on Rebecca when she is being taken care of by the Thunder Soldier, by Kyros. So Viola at least knows that her niece is safe. She is also able to use varying parts of her glare powers to be able to see people's emotions, surface emotions and everything like that. And she can also use it to see into people's souls and into their minds, which we see her do with Sanji. When they finally have that confrontation, she looks into his mind, and at one point she's just like, oh good god. like as perverted as his mind is and everything like that. So, and I'll get a little bit more into detail with that, but like she's able to use her powers to see that, and she's also able to use it to not only do very large areas of observation. I think it's like 4,000 kilometer radius that she is able to see. She is also able to use very nearsighted stuff and be able to focus in on something, because like we see her do this when they're trying to find the key for Law's handcuffs and it gets lost within the flowers, and she uses her powers to be able to locate it and then tell whoever it is to go and the key's over there type of a thing. So she is very well versed in how to use her powers. She also, for some reason, this I mean, like most devil fruits have some form of an offensive ability, offensive capability, even if they are more of a defensive or a passive type of a devil fruit. In Viola's case, her offensive ability is that she is able to cry tears that turn into giant whales and turn into like a boiling water, and then she's able to like attack her opponents with them and then like cut them off and then like, you know, release the whales to attack her opponents. I don't know why. It's just, this is just something she can do. It's like Oda's like, well, tears come from your eye, and her being able to transform them into something, you know, manipulate them and detach them to be able to attack her opponents is a decent defense. I'm like, I can't argue with you there. Can't really argue with you there on that one, but still, why whales? But I mean, she could probably determine, you know, turn them into whatever shape she wants. I just guess Viola likes whales. So going into her actual history and past and everything like that, as I said, she is 29 years old currently in the story. So way back when everything is happening, when Kyros first becomes a member of becomes the captain of the Royal Guard, he is assigned to protect Viola and Rebecca, or Viola and Scarlet, specifically more Scarlet than Viola, but he is designed to protect, is in charge of protecting both of them. And as I said, she is the daughter of Riku and his wife. We still do not have a name on the wife. And even if we did, it's not like I could do a whole video about her. The only thing, you know, we see her the little bits in the flashback, and then she's probably dead, but we never find out how she dies. But Viola is the much younger sister of Scarlet. I think there's 5 to 6 years in between them, but I don't remember the exact number of how much older Scarlet is than Viola. But like Scarlet is, you know, fully grown and married by the time that, you know, everything and has a 6-year-old by the time everything happens with you know, when Doflamingo shows up. So there's a decent chunk of an age difference there. For reference, there's a 12 years age difference between my sister and I, as in she's 12 years older than I am, and her first child, my eldest niece, was born when I was in middle school. So, you know, when I was like, 11 going on 12. So there might be a similar age difference there between Scarlet and Viola. So one of the differences that we see between Viola and Scarlet when they are, you know, this age, when Kyros first shows up, is that Scarlet doesn't like Kyros initially, and I went over this in their videos, because she sees him just as a murderer. Viola, on the other hand, has enough of a foresight with her, you know, with her ability, that she kind of like scans Kyros, and she's more willing to give him a chance. She is, of course, proven right when much later on, when a little while later on, Kyros saves Scarlet and proves that he is a very good person, and, you know, eventually, you know, Scarlet, of course, falls in love with him, and Viola and their father watch as this happen, and everything along those lines, and they're very supportive of it. And of course, when Scarlet chooses to abdicate her throne, she goes to Viola and says, I need to abdicate the throne in order for me to be able to be with Kyros, and I love Kyros, and while I still hold this position as princess, I am not able to be with him. So Viola agrees to take on the mantle of, you know, of high princess, of, you know, crown princess, in order to, you know, fulfill that, you know, circumstance. Um, and what ends up happening is, of course, you know, Scarlet and Kyros, you know, they fake Scarlet's death. Kyros and her leave, and they go and live in like the little hut in the flower fields, and pretty much everybody knows that that's where they are. The citizens of Dressrosa may be very trusting, but they're not exactly stupid in that regard, as I keep pointing out. And they go and live there, and then of course, Viola, along with their parents, will go and visit them occasionally, and she's there when Rebecca is born, and she, you know, just like everybody else in the family, just adores Rebecca and everything like that. And for the next 6 years, things are pretty good. And then, unfortunately, when she's 19 years old, the Night of Terror, as I refer to it, happens, and you know, the Don Quixote pirate shows up, Doflamingo shows up, and, you know, manipulates Riku, and in the process, Viola kind of tries to do something to try to stop him, but, you know, Monette is there, and Monette captures Viola at the opening of the gates as they're letting in the rest of the Don Quixote pirates, to allowing them to invade, so that way they can make it look like they are heroes to the people, in regards to stopping Riku and ending his reign of terror for the night and everything. And of course, Viola is there when Doflamingo is about to execute her father. Kyros has shown up, and he does manage to save Riku, but he is of course turned into the toy soldier in the process. The Thunder Soldier manages to save Riku and get out of there. Viola witnesses this. She then, of course, forgets completely about Kyros and has no memory of him ever being her brother-in-law or anything like that, let alone the father of her niece and all of that. And what happens is, to prevent Viola from acting rashly, Tank, who is one of the other members of the Royal Guard, I think he's the new captain of the Royal Guard after Kyros kind of retires to go and be with Scarlet, he tells her that she needs to stop and think, and that there might be a better way for them to get around this, or a better way to try to make this work than them just trying to outright attack. And she agrees. She decides, okay, I will wait, I will bide my time, and she swears her allegiance to the Don Quixote family and everything like that, to, you know, Doflamingo and everything. She, of course, unfortunately, is exceedingly grief-stricken when she finds out that Diamante killed Scarlet and everything like that. So she's just grief-stricken about that, and that doesn't help. But she, you know, she agrees to serve the family in an attempt to try to protect Rebecca and Kyros, so that way they are not then targeted as easily. And then we cut ahead 10 years into more of the present story, or just prior to the present, where we have the Dressrosa arc. And what ends up happening is, of course, the way that we are introduced to Viola in the arc is that, of course, Sanji and Zoro are out roaming around because Zoro got his sword stolen by the Tontada, and Sanji is trying to help him, and then he ends up getting distracted because he looks over and he sees Viola doing her, you know, flamenco dance performance and everything like that. And, you know, we know, as it's revealed later on, that of course she is being told that she needs to, you know, capture one of the Straw Hats, so that way she can try to determine whatever their plan is. And she determines that, well, based on all the reputations of what we know about the Straw Hats, Sanji is going to be the easiest one for her to lure in. And so that's what she decides to do. She decides to target Sanji. And she ends up having this whole kind of, you know, masquerade setup where she basically, you know, does the performance to get Sanji's attention, kind of singles him out in the crowd, and then we have these police show up and they seem to be searching for her. She then kind of like grabs onto Sanji or whatever, and she plays up the whole thing of like being a damsel in distress, saying that they, you know, oh, the guards suspect me of trying to kill my lover, but I would never do anything like that, type of a thing. And she just like plays it up, and I love her for her acting ability. And he ends up, you know, Sanji of course falls for it hook, line, and sinker, because why wouldn't he? It's pretty girl is asking him for help. Type of thing. And he ends up, of course, spending the next however many hours as they're roaming around Dressrosa trying to protect her. He stops several quote-unquote sniper attacks and different things like that he thinks are being aimed at her but are actually being aimed at him, in an attempt to try to play up stuff. I know in the anime they add in a little bit where he takes her into like a restaurant and like cooks something for her and everything like that. But eventually it ends up being, she like convinces Sanji to like, if you escort me to the next town over, then you can kill the man who tried to hurt me and everything like that. And he's like, okay. And eventually it ends up leading to where she has lured Sanji into the trap and takes him into this warehouse type area or whatever. And it results basically in Sanji is then attacked by the group of other Don Quixote lackeys, and they attack Sanji and they get handcuffs on him. They're not devil fruit suppressing handcuffs because that's not needed for Sanji, but they're handcuffs. And he's then, beaten and bloodied and bruised as Viola then reveals that she, with the whole big, oh, you silly little boy, and her whole, sitting down on the throne type thing that she gets to sit on and everything like that, where everybody is just like fawning over her and everything like that, which this is implied that for the last 10 years, she has been doing her job very, very well. She has rooted out any types of different threats that could be trying to go after Doflamingo and the family and everything like that. She's probably technically been the reason a lot of people have been turned into toys by Sugar, for the ones who had been tried to like maybe try to start an uprising or something like that, and they were turned into toys. But it's also, she is doing this in an effect to try to keep as many people safe as possible, including her father and her niece, who at that point in time eventually end up getting brought to the Cordia Coliseum, where now they have to fight for their livelihood and everything like that. So she has been doing her job very, very well for the past 10 years, it would appear, and she is fully considered this member of the family and everything like that. We also know, based around stuff that I've talked about in previous videos, where I've talked about Viola's specific relationship with Doflamingo, that is, while a very quote-unquote passionate one, it's definitely not a loving relationship by any means, which, she eventually confronts him, and I'll get to that a little bit later in the video. But eventually what ends up happening is, of course, Viola reveals this to, and during this time frame, she's going by Violet, as part of her like code name, which is like, there's, the double entendre there, where it's like Viola is a flower and a violet is a flower, and they sound very similar. And, because of her power of, being able to see things that aren't necessarily, that everybody can't see, it's a play off of like ultraviolet, as in, ultraviolet light, part of the light spectrum and everything like that. I would also be that there's a very small difference between ultraviolet and ultraviolet, and that Viola can get very violent when it comes to protecting the people that she cares about. We see this when it comes to trying to protect Rebecca later on and things like that. But basically what ends up happening is, of course, after she does the big reveal to Sanji, she ends up, she ridicules him for being weak and being easily tricked and everything like that. And she ends up, kicking him and, kind of adding to his humiliation. She then, reveals that she has the devil fruit power, and she's, scanning him, and then she, goes into his mind, using her power, and, reads his mind, and she is just shocked by this fact that, she's like, finds out about like them having that the Straw Hats have the alliance with the Heart Pirates and Law and everything like that. She's kind of shocked by that. And, she's like reading through that, and she reads the depths of his true emotion. And then when she pulls out of it, she's just like disturbed. She just lets out this disturbed scream and asks, "Oh my God, what is wrong with you?" Or "What are you thinking?" and everything like that. And of course, Sanji's mind goes to the perverted place. I do like that the live action has played that down. He is a flirt, but he knows when it's appropriate to flirt. So there's a difference there. Although if they ever do get to Dressrosa in the live action, I have no idea who they would get to play Viola, but that would just be hilarious watching Taz Skylar just like fall all over her. That would be hilarious to watch if ever we end up getting to that in the live action, however many years down the line that is. But that would be fun. But eventually, of course, what ends up happening is via what she sees here, she determines that, okay, the Straw Hats have this plan to try to take down Doflamingo. And they actually are trying to do it for the right reasons. And she's like, this is lining up with, because she knows about the revolution that the Tontatas are trying to develop with the Thunder Soldier and his plan and everything like that. And of course, she's been watching for the last 10 years as the Thunder Soldier has kept an eye on Rebecca, so she is indebted to the Thunder Soldier, having no idea that he is her brother-in-law, as Kyros turned into the toy. As mentioned in previous videos where I've talked about Kyros and him and Viola's relationship with each other, with their family bond and everything. And Viola then decides that, okay, I am going to use, I'm going to actually work with the Straw Hats. She then turns on her subordinates that she has there, uses her whale tears to attack them, knock them all out, free Sanji, and it explains to them that, okay, I don't know if she actually then reveals that she's the princess of the island or whatever, but she reveals blah, 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 blah. I know that you're trying to stop Doflamingo. I fully support this and I will do everything in my power to help you. And everything like that. She then reveals to him that Doflamingo has not actually abdicated from his role as a warlord of the sea. It was all a play, all a ruse and everything like that to try to trick the Straw Hats in law. Technically worked. And so then Sanji's like, okay, well then he's trying to get a hold of his friends to let them know, tell the crew and everything like that about what's going on. And she explains that while the Marines may not necessarily be able to take him down for reasons, the Straw Hats may just be able to help take down Doflamingo. We then eventually end up, she helps with delivering information to Frankie through the Dentenmushi and everything like that, and telling him where the Smile Factory is and so many other different things and everything. And helping with a bunch of this stuff because she would know where a bunch of this stuff was. Because she is a member of the family and she has been, part of that family, for the last 10 years. And while she may have developed decent relationships with some members of the family, with I don't think we ever find out what her opinion of Baby 5 is. But some of the other members of the family, she may have at least a somewhat decent relationship with. But the thing is that all of them were a part of trying to destroy her home and make her father look insane and kill her sister and try to then kill her father and her sister and probably eventually her if she hadn't made the deal in the process. So, and have been the cause of so many different, problems in her kingdom for the past 10 years. So, Viola doesn't particularly want to work with them very well. Eventually, of course, this leads around to, at some point, Viola helps lead Sanji, Kinemon, and Zoro, and I think Luffy is part of this as well, eventually, trying to lead them into the palace, into the castle on the King's Plateau, so that way they can, be able to, make their way in. Also, eventually, no, Sanji doesn't go with them in the castle. Sanji has to go and try to help fight Doflamingo, so that way Nami and Brook and Chopper and Momonosuke on the Sunny are able to escape and everything like that. So Sanji shows up and helps them, and that goes that way. But Viola's the one that told him that was happening, that, oh, your friends are being held captive on their ship and everything like that against Giola, and Dofi's on his way, so you should probably go and take care of him. And everything like that. So that happens, and then of course, she eventually leads the others into the castle, and they have the Thunder Soldier there with them as well, and everything like that. And I think she ends up thanking the Thunder Soldier somewhere in here for helping take care of Rebecca for the past 10 years. There's also a moment where she's riding through one of the towns in Dressrosa, and she sees up on the screen, because they're showing off the gladiatorial games for the Marimarinomi, and she sees Rebecca on the screen, and she sees the citizens jeering and not being very booing her and everything like that, and she fires at the screen to blow it up so she doesn't have to watch as they're ridiculing her niece. Now, given the fact that Viola has her power, you would think that she would kind of know that the other people in the kingdom don't actually despise Rebecca and don't actually despise Riku. That they actually are aware of the fact that Doflamingo is actually the cause of their problems, and that it's not actually or that it's not actually Riku's fault, and that Rebecca should not be punished for this and everything like that. So we see some of that, and we also see her interacting with the Tontatas, revealing that she does know about the Tontatas and that she's actually been friends with the Tontatas, Wicca and Leo and Kabu and stuff like that since she was a child herself, because Leo is like 20 something, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, so he's not that much. He's not like a huge amount younger. There's like 5 to 7 years age difference between him and Viola, but so we get to see that she has a good relationship with the Tontata and everything like that. So we get that, and she thanks them for still believing in her father and everything, because the Tontatas never lost their faith in Riku or in his family. And of course, eventually she, of course, has led led Luffy and Zoro and the Thunder Soldier and everything like that into the castle and everything like that, where they have to end up dealing with Pika, and that's where Zoro peels off to fight Pika, and then they have to deal with Gladys, and Luffy kind of figures out how to kind of try to stop Gladys, and eventually they're waiting outside of the room where Doflamingo currently is holding Law hostage. It has Law, trapped on the sea with the sea prism stone, and Viola, Luffy, and the Thunder Soldier, Kyros, are all waiting while they're watching this because they're waiting for the signal that, like, oh, Sugar has been knocked out, so that means that the Thunder Soldier will turn back into himself, and all over the kingdom there will be, the people turning back into, all the toys turning back into their, back into themselves, back into their human forms, and everybody will be regaining their memories of the people who were turned into toys and everything like that. So they're waiting for that, so there'll be that huge distraction for Doflamingo, and then they can use that to then target Doflamingo. And eventually, as I said, I think somewhere in here Viola does thank the Thunder Soldier for looking after Rebecca, and as they're waiting, they wait and watch, and then when the curse is broken, the Thunder Soldier transforms back into Kyros, and at the same time that we know that Rebecca starts having her kind of, emotional breakdown in the Colosseum in front of Sabo and Bartolomeo and everything like that. While that's happening, Viola starts to shed tears, because she is like tears of joy, because she is remembering not just the fact that, her sister's husband is still alive, but that Kyros has never stopped in his duties of taking care of Rebecca. And that, she's also remembering these, she has very good memories of being around Kyros as well. Not just him being her brother-in-law, but even before that with him being like a very loyal guard and everything like that. And so she has all of those, memories flooding back to her and everything like that of her brother-in-law. And it just shows that they have this very good relationship. Which I love that they show that in the movie. Or in the manga and in the anime and everything like that. She then watches as, her and Luffy then watch as Kyros jumps in and attacks Doflamingo, and, Luffy and her jump in, and their attempt is to try to get to Law and, get him released from the handcuffs, but they're Sea Prism Stone handcuffs, and both of them are Devil Fruit users, so they can't really touch them very easily because Sea Prism Stone and everything like that. And eventually they are able to, they kind of get like chucked out of the palace, because Pika just like, suddenly just appears and like chucks all of them out of the palace, including Law still in the handcuff chair with the handcuffs on. So what ends up happening is, of course, that's when they have the whole, Doflamingo does the big announcement of like, all of these people, are part of this list, and, if you can capture any of them, you'll be given a certain prize based around like how high their bounty is and everything like that. You'll earn that bounty and everything like that. And of course, Viola is on the list of all the people. Um, and eventually, of course, and I said this before, and I'll definitely reference it when I do the Doflamingo video. This is very similar to what ends up happening with the population extermination game that the Celestial Dragons play, that we see them play on God Valley, and that we know that they played for a very long time, where they have the different slaves slash rabbits as these different ranks and everything like that. So Doflamingo is definitely basing his version of this game off of that version. So that's definitely there. And I'll go into that a little bit more in depth with a little bit more of facts about it when I get to Doflamingo's video. But what ends up happening is, of course, as they're running around, they end up losing the key. So Viola has to use her powers to find the key so they can eventually get, Law's cuffs unlocked and everything like that. And of course, Doflamingo has set up the bird cage and everything like that, so it forces everybody to stay inside and participate in his survival game. Eventually, it ends up being that Viola, Usopp, Robin, Rebecca, Bartolomeo, and Hack, along with the Tontatas, all of them work together to try to get, Law uncuffed, and then also they're all working to try to, figure out where they need to go to try to fight Doflamingo and everything like that. And, she tries to plead with her father to believe in the Straw Hats. She's kind of the one that implores him to believe in the Straw Hats and everything like that. That's like, whatever form of justice the Marines have been trying to do has failed. And it has failed our kingdom multiple times now, with the fact that they didn't stop Doflamingo when he first showed up and took over our kingdom, and the fact that they're not really trying to stop him now. Unbeknownst to Viola, of course, Isho Fujitora is working on trying to help them. Has determined that, like, okay, the Straw Hats aren't necessarily the bad ones here, and blah 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 blah. So they're trying to do that. And while all of this is happening, she also uses her powers to be able to direct. From the King's Plateau, where they're kind of in a somewhat safe area. She's able to then help direct people to where they need to go, and she's like directing people to, like, oh, this is here and this is here and this is where this person is and that type of stuff. And she helps direct Leo and Kabu to where they're actually hiding Meshuri, where she's not actually in the Smile Factory, where she's actually being hidden somewhere else in the palace. So they send them after that in order, send Leo and Kabu after her, so that way they were able to save Mashiri. Eventually, there is, of course, the moment where she helps Usopp target where Sugar is, so that way when Sugar is attempting to try to turn Luffy and Law into toys, she helps Usopp with that moment where he's trying to target that and everything like that, and eventually leads to him, of course, awakening his haki and everything. But Viola helps him with being able to aim where he's going to send the Conjuro's drawing of Usopp at Sugar in order to knock her out. So we have that happening, so she helps with that. And then eventually it ends up resulting where kind of the climax that we get for Rebecca, or for Viola, is that she's there when a bunch of the citizens show up, and she thinks, and everybody else thinks, that they're there to try to capture her father and her and hand them into Doflamingo, to capture everybody there and hand them into Doflamingo. They're not. The citizens end up then, stopping and, like, begging Riku to help them and everything like that, saying, we knew that you weren't actually the bad guy for so long and everything, and it took us longer than we should have to realize it, and we're sorry, and please help our kingdom and everything like that. So we go through all of that, and like, so that kind of, like, some reconciliation with the kingdom is happening. Then we get to the moment where Viola has decided that she is where she's determined that Doflamingo is the only enemy left standing, because everybody else has been taken care of. All the rest of the Doflamingo family, Don Quixote family, have been taken out in some way, shape, or form, or in the case of Baby Five, engaged to one of their own, and the form of Sai, it is now on their side, I guess. But everybody else has been taken out except for Doflamingo. So she decides that she is going to go and try to stop Doflamingo herself. And at least attempt to. And she is aware of the fact that she does not stand a chance trying to help them, trying to stop Doflamingo, but she is going to confront him. And the fact is that while Riku and Scarlet and Viola and Kyros all have reasons to want to go against Doflamingo, Kyros and Rebecca get to deal with Diamante, and Riku kind of gets to have his kind of face off with the civilians, with the citizens of Dressrosa and everything like that. Viola has spent the last 10 years having to play basically puppet doll to Doflamingo in order to protect her father and her niece and the citizens to the best of her ability. And she's done a lot of horrible things probably within that time frame in order to try to keep those people that she loves safe. And so now she's going to confront Doflamingo with this, and she's going to confront him. And we also know that there's been somewhat of a passionate relationship between the two of them that is definitely not mutual. And she goes and she confronts him and she tries to fight him and everything like that. And what ends up happening is, of course, at the same time, Rebecca shows up and she tries to help Viola, but what ends up happening is, of course, Doflamingo captures Rebecca and has her, he captures both Viola and Rebecca, and he has Viola trapped by him, and then he is using his strings in order to manipulate Rebecca, so that way Rebecca will attack her aunt and will be the one to end her aunt, so that way even, he's just doing this to just add to the level of mind games that he plays with the people and that he has played with this family over the last 10 years. Just add to the horror. And Rebecca, Viola she's like telling Rebecca that, it's not your fault, you didn't do this, it's not, she doesn't want Viola does not want Rebecca to carry the guilt of what is about to happen, or what both of them believe is about to happen with what would be Rebecca essentially killing her aunt. Viola does not want Rebecca to live with that. She does not want Rebecca to have that on her conscience. So she tells Rebecca to just close your eyes and just pretend something else is happening. Pretend you're not here and this is not your fault and I don't blame you and I never would and everything like that. And it's one of my favorite scenes in Dressrosa is that moment. And thankfully, Law and Luffy have shown up at that point in time. Law uses his room to switch out Viola with Luffy, so Rebecca's attack comes down and it lands on Luffy's head that he has, hockeyed up on his forehead to, stop that. And then Law, warps Rebecca out of, shambles Rebecca out of there so that way she's safe. And it kind of like cuts whatever hold Doflamingo had over her with the strings and everything like that. So Viola and Rebecca are safe, and they watch as Luffy finally finishes off Doflamingo and stops the bird cage and everything like that, and ends Doflamingo's reign of terror over the country. And that finishes up, and they watch that, and they're just both so relieved. Viola and Rebecca are just so relieved about what happened there, and that they're able to stop that. That they were able to survive this and everything like that. And during the whole, all the fights and everything that were going on between the Straw Hats and the eventual Grand Fleet members and the other allies, and against the Don Quixote family and such, Viola was basically acting as this kind of observer that was then passing on to other people via the Den Mushi, or just the other people around her, so that way they would know what was going on. Oh, Zoro managed to defeat Pika. Oh, Kyros managed to defeat Diamante. Go save Mashiri. She's being held by Gloriosa here, or not Gloriosa, being held by Giola here, and everything like that, and watching all of this, so that way she's able to keep an eye, literally, on what's going on around her. And then eventually we get to 3 days after Doflamingo's downfall and everything like that. Viola has informed Rebecca that Luffy and his allies are being pursued by the Marines, and she's, Viola is trying to, try to not exactly pick up where she left off with Rebecca as her niece, but she is trying to develop this very good relationship with her and everything like that. It's like, I kind of missed out on 10 years of actually being a part of your life, and I want to try to do my best to try to like fix that relationship so we can still have a very good relationship and everything like that. And Rebecca seems all for it. She's like, yeah, I want to try to have a good relationship with you and with, Grandpa Riku and everything like that. And so, at this point in time, they're both kind of under the impression that Rebecca will be the new crown princess because she is the daughter of Scarlet. And they want to give her a shot at the throne, and Viola is okay with this. Eventually, of course, what ends up happening is, of course, Luffy shows up at the palace and convinces Rebecca that she should go be with her father. It's like, I'm gonna, well, he doesn't convince her. He's like giving her the chance and everything like that of like, you said you waited so long to be able to be with the Thunder Soldier so you could live with him and everything like that as a family. And now the Thunder Soldier was really your own father and everything like that, and he's been beside you for the past 10 years, but, all that type of stuff. And Rebecca goes to Viola and she asks to take her place, to ask Viola, just the way that Scarlet did, to take her place as princess, as the crown princess, so that way she can go and be with Kyros, be with her father, and actually be a family with him the way she's wanted for the past 10 years, and what was denied her thanks to Doflamingo. Was denied a lot of people thanks to Doflamingo. And eventually, Viola agrees right away, and she blesses Rebecca to go and be with Kyros and everything like that, and they head off. Luffy takes Rebecca to Kyros and everything like that, and then Viola goes and tells Riku what happened and everything like that, and Riku's like, I kind of figured that was going to happen and everything like that, and they'll be fine. And so, and she also watches as she watches as Rebecca and Kyros are reunited, but she also watches as Luffy and the others are being chased out of Dressrosa by Fujitora, and kind of witnesses all of the rubble being lifted up and kind of like chasing after Luffy and everything like that. And I think she's one of the people that figures out that I don't think Fujitora is actually going to hurt them and everything like that. And then and I think they add on a little bit of this in the anime where at the end of it, when Luffy and his friends are escaping and everything like that, that the citizens of Dressrosa then proceed to have this huge celebration and everything like that, and they're just all partying and everything, and Rebecca is Scarlet is doing the flamenco dancing and everything like that again, and having a fun time with that. And then in the Zoe arc, we get just a little bitty check-in where we have it that Dressrosa is slowly beginning to heal. They're slowly trying to, they're getting ready for the Reverie, but they're also slowly trying to get the country back on track and everything after everything happened with the birdcage. And we see that Viola asked Rebecca to accompany the Riku family to the Reverie as Viola's lady-in-waiting. And Rebecca agrees and everything like that. And of course, we know that Kyros goes as well, as I mentioned in his video. And then when we have the stories of the self-proclaimed Straw Hat Grand Fleet moment, we have it that Viola and Rebecca are there when they are presenting Leo and the Tontada Pirates, or I think they're the Usoland Pirates, or whatever they end up being called, where they have made them, the ship, or the people of Dressrosa made them the ship and made them all new outfits to be pirates in and everything like that. So we see that. And then the most recent thing that we have seen is, of course, the Reverie arc. And we see Viola, of course, with Rebecca and Riku and Kyros, along with a couple other, we see King Elizabeth II from the Prudence Kingdom, that all of them are traveling together to Marijois for the Reverie. And of course, their ship is kind of targeted by pirates, but that attempt is thwarted by Kobe and Helmeppo and everything like that. And then when we get to Marijois, they're all introduced to everybody, and of course Viola watches as Rebecca meets Vivi and Shirahoshi and everything like that, and then she herself meets Fukaboshi and Igaram. So they're kind of all learning that they have this connection and everything like that. And I think she's kind of I don't remember if Viola is well, I know that she's witness to like what happens with Shirahoshi when like Charlo shows up and everything like that. She's definitely there and sees that. And she wanted to stay close by Shirahoshi and everything like that to protect her because now she's friends with Rebecca and everything like that. She wants to protect this, this princess and everything like that that has done nothing wrong. Shirahoshi is one of the very few innocents in all of One Piece. I mean, like, I would still qualify that there's several other people throughout One Piece that definitely qualify as still being purely innocent, as in they have done nothing wrong throughout the course of the story. Viola may not see herself that way, but she definitely sees Rebecca as that way, and she can probably also see Shirahoshi as that way. And the thing is that Vivi probably doesn't see herself as an innocent either because she worked for Baroque Works as Miss Wednesday, and she would have had to achieve the rank that she was at. She would have had to have probably killed several people, or at the very least done a lot of bad things up to that point to earn the trust and that position that she was given, which is very similar to what Viola has to do as a member of the Don Quixote pirates, is that she has to be able to, she had to keep up that ruse for so long, so that way she would then be able to, be in a good position where she could like tell Dofi, no, I don't see any threats, when she knows perfectly well that the Tontada and the Thunder Soldier are developing their threat, are developing their little rebellion. But we haven't seen anything else since the Reverie of them. We know that they are definitely aware of, Vivi, of, Cobra being killed and Vivi being missing and everything like that. I guess there's the possibility because given the range that Viola would have of her Devil Fruit power, and while Marie Joie would technically be this very secure place, even particularly within Castle Pangea and everything like that, by a technicality, if Viola is there and if she, uses her power at the right moment, she would be able to technically know about Eam if she uses her power to be able to like see into the empty throne room. And if she, had her power going at the right time, she would have witnessed this battle that happened, or this fight skirmish that happened / assassination attempt of, or assassination success of Cobra, and she herself would then know that A, all of the Gorosei can transform, B, there's a frickin' guy that sits on the throne that can transform too, and he's not nice. And would have seen all of that and everything. And Viola would be somewhat familiar with Sabo because she was, at Dressrosa, and part of that whole, rebellion with Koala and Hack and everything like that, that contingent from the Revolutionary Army and everything like that. So she's kind of aware of that stuff. So there could be something where we cut back to Dressrosa, where we see Viola talking to Riku and Kyros and Rebecca and Leo and the Tontadas and everything like that, and being like, okay, I happened to stumble upon something when I used my powers at, while we were at Marie Joie. There could have been a reason where she decided to use her powers. Maybe trying to look in on what was going on with the kings at the, at the Reverie meeting or something like that. And she looked into that, and she looked at the wrong spot in Castle Pangea and saw it. And saw, Eam-sama or something like that. Because, no offense, Viola, I'll get to the name eventually. Viola, it's like my dad trying to say, trying to talk to me and says my sister's name, or vice versa. Talk about my sister and says my name. My mom does the same thing. And I do the same thing with my nieces and nephew as well. It's like, which name am I on? Oh, that one. But like, it would not surprise me if Viola is somewhat curious about what else is going on within the castle at that point in time. Particularly if they think that Vivi is missing. She may have done something where she's like, oh, they heard that Vivi was missing, so I'm going to, look and see if I can use my powers to try to find her. And she may have witnessed Vivi and, Vivi and Wapol getting on to one of the other ships and ended up eventually with, Morgans and everything like that. depending on how far away that was when that happened, she may have witnessed part of that and then been like, okay, what the heck happened? And then like try to figure out what happened. So Viola could have used her powers and figured out something like that. That would not surprise me if she then reveals to her family and maybe Tank and the Tontata pirates and stuff like that, the trusted ones that they know, reveal to them what happened, of what she saw, and be like, I don't think Sabo did that. And there's other stuff that's going on in that place, and she may have just had to hide that for like the time frame until they got home and everything like that. So that would not surprise me if that ends up being something that Oda reveals, that, oh no, Viola knows. She's just hasn't had the ability to say anything yet. Because we don't know how often Viola would have attended the reverie with her father while she was growing up before, before everything happened with Doflamingo, with him showing up and everything like that. We don't know how often she would have attended reverie. And even if she did, we don't know if she would have even tried to use her powers at that point in time to try to look around. She may have just not wanted to, because she was raised under the impression that, the celestial dragons are these gods at the top of the world type of a thing. So maybe not. In her opinion of the world government, definitely, particularly the Marines, was definitely very much dropped during the time frame with Doflamingo around. So I would definitely have tried to use powers like that very carefully. To try to see if I could find out what else was going on, or if there was anything else interesting going on. But I don't have her powers, but, I would have been interested in that. So that's what I see, or that's what my thought is for what might happen if we see Viola again. But I thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. And the next one for this series will be me going over Doflamingo specifically. I don't think that's going to be a two-parter, just because I'll try to see if I can get it all into one episode or one video, but it'll definitely be a longer video. So that's what I have. I thank you for watching, and I hope you have a nice rest of your day. Bye.